There's one way more than any other that you know that relationship is over. The number one sign that that relationship is over, there's actually two, and I'm going to talk about the second one towards the end. But the first one is whenever you get to a point where you're fighting for that relationship by yourself. If you get to a point where you are the only one putting forth effort, and I'm talking about tangible effort, I'm not talking about, you're having a conversation, he's having a conversation, so there's effort. I'm talking about if you're the only one that's making tangible improvements, you're the only one that's compromising, you're the only one that's willing to be held accountable, you're the only one starting hard conversations. If you are the only one putting forth effort to repair the relationship, make it work, keep it going, to be transparent, to be vulnerable, at that point it's over with. That's the number one sign, is whenever you get to a point where you're fighting for that relationship by yourself, because relationships were made for two people who are willing to continuously put in the effort, not one person who's fighting while they're losing themselves. The number one sign is whenever you're fighting by yourself to make that relationship work. Now, why do I say this? Hold on. Oh, lost y'all. Make sure y'all good. We still on? Boom. We on. Yesterday, I came across a system. Let me see. Hold on. Make sure we're good. Let's do it. Let's do a mic check real quick before I go in, because I don't want y'all to miss this. Put I down in the chat if you can still hear me, because I want to tell y'all about this sister I came across yesterday. Disheveled. I'm not going to say the type of store, but I came into a store. I always see this woman, and 9 times out of 10, she's full of life. I mean, big smile on her face. She got some type of story to tell me. This time, she's in shambles. She knows what I do for a living. She knows who I am. I'm big bro. And so immediately she begins pouring her heart out about a situation with a guy in which she was really curious, like, do I give up on this? He's hurt her. Again, I don't want to give too many details because I don't know who I was watching. I want to make sure I protect her identity. Put I down in the chat if you can even hear me. Somebody said no sound. All right, let me start over. I got to start over. YouTube look like we good over here. All right. Because I don't want y'all to miss this. Says damn sure I can hear. So YouTube can hear, but they couldn't hear on here. That's fine, because we're about to start right back up on Facebook. So for those who are just joining on Facebook, I was already telling my YouTube this. But the number one sign, and there are two, that the relationship is over, even if you're still in a relationship, is whenever you get to a point, either of you get to a point where you're fighting for the relationship by yourself. And again, YouTube, thank you guys for being patient. But the backstory to this is, yesterday I came across a sister. I always see her, as a matter of fact. I'm familiar with her. She works in a particular store, usually full of life. This time, her spirit is in shambles. I ain't even the most intuitive person, and I could see it. But then she came to me telling me kind of what was going on, why she was so heavy, and literally burst out into tears. We had to go to the back of the store where customers couldn't see, because this is her establishment. This sister's in so much shambles because she's been with a guy, let's say, more than 10 years. I'm sparing details so I can make sure I protect the identity. This guy's hurt her more than 5 times in this particular way. And she was asking me, D, you're a man. And one thing I always let y'all know, just like I let her know, I'm no perfect man. I'm on no pedestal. I'm not trying to be on no pedestal. I'm your big bro. I'm here to give you the real, and you do with this information what you will. She said, D, you a man. I've forgiven him. I've forgiven him a few times. At what point do I know it's time to walk away from this relationship? And I told her, like I'm going to tell y'all, sis, at the point where you're the one making all the concessions, when you're the one that's willing to forgive over and over again, you're the one put in the position to have to continuously forgive anyway. When you're the one that's willing to make all the tangible compromises, tangible being, these are measurable. This ain't just lofty words. This is like literally you're the one that's saying, okay, I can talk different. I can take a different tone. I can take a different approach. I can be more patient. I can wait to another time to have these conversations. You're the one that's making all of these types of sacrifices. At that point, you're the only one. That relationship is over. A whole relationship is two people relating. Like I said in the beginning, YouTube, a relationship is two people who are willing to put in the effort every single day to make the relationship work, to adjust to whatever hardships, to adjust to whatever challenges, to make right on whatever wrongs have already come across in the relationship. continuously grow back together if there's ever any distance. That's what a relationship is. Not one person who's fighting until it becomes forcing while they lose themselves in the process of trying to hold on to this relationship. That's not a relationship. Put this back in the comments one more time. And so if you're like her, and again, I'm sparing details. I don't want to go too far in depth, and really I don't have to. This is for men. This is for women. I've seen both sides get into a situation where you're the only one that's trying. You're the only one that's fighting. You're the only one that's losing sleep at night because things ain't how they need to be. You're the only one. Even whenever you bring it up to them, like, hey man, I'm hurting right now. I'm this, that, and the other. You're the only one that even seem invested. You're the only one that even care. When you get to that point where you got to ask him, you ain't even talking about the situation at hand. You ain't talking about the issues y'all are having. You're just asking him, are you even invested in this anymore? Do you even care? That relationship is over. Again, there's a second one. And I thought about this honestly, just as I was turning on to go live. I thought about this second one. And that's when it's going to cost you too much to fight for the relationship, even if they are fighting. If it's going to cost you more than you can afford to lose, more than you can afford to front in order to fight for the relationship, you also know the relationship is over. So now this is where a lot of us get caught up. And this is where a lot of you get smear campaigns on the back end if you decide at this point you can no longer fight for the relationship because it's costing you something. Like, say, for instance, as a man, and a lot of men may feel this way, especially somebody who has struggled with mental health in the past. I've had to diagnose this, that, and the other, prescription meds. I cannot fight for a relationship that's going to cost me my mental health. I can't. I will not. If it's going to bring me to a brink of any type of decisions that may be permanent, I know that's my limit. That's my threshold. If you are a woman that's over the age of, say, 30 years old, you still want to have family, you want to have children, and in order to get to that point where you have a chance for that, you have to fight for the relationship in the form of your patience. For a man who's not sure, or he ain't got his money right, and it's going to take him 5 years, 10 years to get it right, that may be something you can't afford to pay. If you're in a relationship with a man that likes to use his physical prowess, he's getting help. Oh, he's going to go see the lady, but you got kids. Or he's dangerous whenever he gets to that point, or he has a drinking problem. That may cost you more than you can afford to pay in order to continue fighting for that relationship. This is why a part of self-love is understanding who you are. So now you can set the guidelines, you can make it crystal clear what it's going to take in order to love you because of where you're already at in loving yourself, and what you will walk away from if it's going to cost you that love for yourself. The second way that you know that relationship is over with is when you know it's going to cost you more than you can afford to lose to fight for it. If it's going to bring you to a version of yourself, if you have a window of opportunity to make a particular thing happen in which that partner of yours is necessary or could play a major role in, and that person ain't ready, that's going to cost you too much. If you see that the progression of this person is incremental and you need them to make quantum leaps in their growth, in their acclimation of what you need in a relationship, that's too much. If right here, right now, you have a window to do certain things and this person ain't ready, you can look at this person and recognize, oh, this is a good man. He has a good heart. He wants better and he will get there, but it won't be in enough time for me. This is why as a 45-year-old, 50-year-old, you can't date like you did when you were 7. You know, if a girl is 17, 18 years old, she got a little boyfriend or something like that, she can wait 10, 15 years for that man to kind of come along. I wouldn't say 15, but 8 to 10 years. She can wait for him to grow up, grow out of things. If you are over the age of 40, you ain't got no 10, 15 years to wait for no man. You can't date like everybody else. And I think a lot of you over the age of 40 and 50, you're still trying to deploy the same fervor for the relationship that you had whenever you were 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, not realizing that you ain't got the same thing to lose that you had at that time, which is fine. Actually, it's a good thing. Because now you have so much more experience, not only to know yourself, but to be able to evaluate the man across from you. But 2 ways. I know this is called the number one sign a relationship is over. And actually, there is one that's absolutely more definite than the other. And that's whenever you're fighting by yourself. But the second one is whenever it's going to cost you too much. And like I said, on the back end, this is where a lot of y'all get smear campaign. Can I keep it real with you? A lot of y'all get smear campaign, and it's not just because the man is a narcissist or a manipulator or he had this, he just had it out for you. A lot of y'all get smear campaign being a man after the relationship wants to paint the narrative a certain way, make you out to be the only one who did something wrong, hyper focus on something you actually did wrong, but manipulate the narrative so that it looks like you were much more of a villain than what you were. A lot of times that happens because that man thought he could determine for you what was too much to pay. He thought he had the control over that. I tell my brothers, like, hey man, look, you can't decide for that woman what's too much for her in order to allow you to come along to a place you honestly should have been whenever you got in a relationship, or else you should have just stayed out of the relationship altogether. A lot of men will go on the smear campaign because honestly, they were blindsided. You know how many people have gotten away with their BS all their lives, and when they finally meet consequences, it's a culture shock. They'll call you names. They'll say that you discarded them. They'll say that you abandoned them. They'll say that you didn't try hard enough. They'll say that you had somebody else. They'll say that you must have been doing X, Y, and Z the whole entire relationship, all because they thought they could determine the price you were going to be willing to pay for them to come in to the relationship at the level they should have been when they first started. Can I keep it real with y'all? A lot of times that's what the smear campaign be. You be like, dang, I didn't know this guy had this in him. I didn't know that. The whole time what they're doing is they're trying to soothe and coddle their ego. The ego that had them under the notion that they could determine for you how much time you should have been willing to wait, how many mental health issues you should have been willing to endure, how much weight you should have been willing to lose, how many times you should have been willing to be embarrassed or humiliated, how many nights you should have been crying yourself to sleep. They thought they could determine that price for you. A lot of guys will do it, and they'll go and they'll make it seem like, because they will not let themselves accept the consequences of their actions. This is why you have to be very mindful about a man who does not take accountability. That's what that leads to. It's not just he's going to deflect and make it seem like you're the problem. He's also going to retaliate whenever you finally do say, hey, enough is enough. I'm good. I'm good here. I've seen it happen both ways. I've seen men run into women that because they so fine, they never had to meet any consequences. They don't know what it's like for a man to actually lead them or say, hey, look, I cannot go forward with this. I've seen it that way, and I've also seen it the other way. So make sure when you're dealing with somebody, you're not just dealing with somebody who professes love and that kind of thing. You need to be asking the question, are you accountable? And what are you accountable to? If that man is accountable to his pleasure, accountable to his flesh, accountable to validation from other people, it's going to be very flimsy trying to get him to do anything. Because what you're investing in isn't fertile soil. For instance, like I said, there are three places that a man is going to choose from. That's his purpose, his pain, or his pleasure. Pleasure being fleshly, lust, different variety of women. Pain being his wounds, unhealed trauma. Purpose being whenever he has something in life he must accomplish, he's obsessed with it, he's committed to it. That is the most powerful motivator. Whenever you get a man who is motivated by his purpose and you say, hey, this is what I'm going to need from you. This is what it's going to require in order to love me correctly. You are coming into fertile soil. You're coming into something where there's a high intrinsic motivation behind what he's doing, as opposed to something like, again, survival mode and pain. Anything can seem good. You make him uncomfortable, more uncomfortable than what he already is, and you say, hey, I need you to be accountable to doing this thing better in our relationship. Oh, well, I'll find something else to survive with. Pleasure, I'll find another girl. I'll find somebody else who talk good, somebody with a nice little curvy body. Purpose, it's a very specific set of criteria, a very specific characteristic that will come with the woman that's right for a man's purpose. So whenever you're integrated into that with that man, and you're saying, hey, I need you to do, and he's accountable, like you can see in his life, he's really committed to that purpose, you coming into something powerful. Man, I got to make sure I do a better job humbling myself whenever I'm talking to my woman, switching off boss mode and coming into her partner, her husband. I'm not her lawyer. I'm not fixing her. I'm not reprimanding her. I'm connecting with her. I don't have to be right. I have to do this because she's now come in and integrated herself into something else I have to do. That's my baby out there giving that babysitter all she needs and want. But does that make sense to anybody? And see, when you get a man who's either not accountable or he's accountable to something that is flimsy and he's accountable to something with no real strong foundation, you find yourself in a situation where you are fighting for the relationship by yourself. And whenever you finally get done with fighting for that relationship by yourself, now he goes on the attack. Because what you left, he ain't even accountable enough to recognize that, of course, you ran out of bandwidth for his BS. And then this is what'll happen. Then a second part to that whole smear campaign is whenever he'll try to replace you. Again, it's all about, if a man is still in denial about the consequences, about the bed that he made that he doesn't want to lie in, he's going to try and coddle his ego. He's going to try and feel better about the outcome. So one will be a smear campaign. Secondly, what he'll do is try to immediately replace you. Let me go get somebody else. Let me send a message to her. And I talked about this briefly yesterday, that sometimes a guy will go and treat a woman better because, you know, that woman is just requiring more. But let me also be very clear. The flip side to that coin is a lot of times a guy would treat another woman better just to send a message to you and try to convince himself of something. You ever had somebody telling you something and you say, hey, man, who are you trying to convince? You or me? Who are you trying to convince? Sometimes a guy will move on to another woman and treat her better. He's trying to convince himself you are the problem. He's so deep in his denial about what version of you he brought forth, about what situation he created. He'll go and operate from a completely different place inauthentically just to try to give himself something to believe other than the truth of the matter, which is that he burnt out a good woman. He left you to fight for the relationship by yourself, or he was trying to charge you too much, more than you could afford, in order to fight for that relationship with him, for him to come along to the level that you were at. And see, this is when you know that man failed to replace you. Because any of those things that don't come from an authentic place, they're whimsical, they're fleeting, they're instant gratification, but they don't last. These are the guys who come right back a month, 2 months, sometimes it take a couple of months, come right back. Hey, how you doing? Just checking on you. Wanted to see if you. Why is he checking on you? He supposed to be happy. He supposed to be happy in a new relationship. Y'all ever had a dude leave you, act like you were the problem, and then he was circling the block, coming right on back. He had all of the apologies and all of the I'm sorry's and all of that. I wish I could take back all of my BS. I wish I had never done you like this. I wish I had never talked to you like this. But whenever he first left you, you were the problem. Hold on, D. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to come out there and check up on you, okay? Okay. I told my little boy he had to clean up behind himself, so he's like making sure I don't miss it. He'd be so proud. But a man will literally leave you, convince everybody who's willing to listen that you are the problem, but for some reason come right back looking for that problem on down the road when such and such that he tried to replace you with don't hit the spot. Put I down in the chat if you've ever been there. He's supposed to be in a whole new relationship. He calling this girl his soulmate, his everything, the love of his life, the one he got it right with. And then you sitting there looking at your phone and you still see text messages from this dude. Like if you were to open that door again, he would gladly walk through it. Put I down in the chat if that's you, or if you've ever been there. Look, some of y'all ain't gonna want to tell the truth. If you're willing to tell the truth, put I down in the chat if that's ever been you. He failed at replacing you. Because in trying to replace you, what he was really trying to do is replace the experience his soul was having with you. Even the wrong man, even the man that's not fitting, even the man that's unequally yoked, was experiencing something from you that his soul has never experienced before. And as he thought from his conscious place, he thought, oh, I can replace her. There are plenty of good women, and there are. Honestly, I think there are a ton of good women. But there are sometimes where the formula is just right in that connection. And not only the formula, there are some women who are not just good, they're literally once in a lifetime. There are a few things about you that just set you above. And I hate to say this because some people, oh, well, all women are queens. No, all women are not queens. There's levels to this. There are levels to this. There are some women out there, fellas, can I keep it real with y'all? Ladies, can I keep it real with y'all? There's some women out there who have put the work in on themselves, who have not given the same access to their spirit by just anybody so that anybody can come in and mark their soul up. There are some women out there who just have a different pedigree, a different level of integrity. Women that, got people depending on them and they come through for them. Women that can have the whole world falling apart and they're going to figure out a way to make sure they show up in the most important areas of their life for their children, for whoever's depending on them that can't do for themselves. There are some women who are just a cut above. Every woman is not no queen. I don't care what nobody say. Unfollow me now if you don't like it. Every woman ain't no queen. So when a man comes across that queen, he may consciously not necessarily recognize it, but his soul can't deny it. Now you look like every other woman. You fine. There's other women that's fine. You talk good. You cook. You clean. Okay. Just like a lot of other women. Not all, especially today. But whenever he think he can go out there and replace you, he can never replace. Like the recipe may be the same, but the sauce ain't hitting the same. The sauce ain't tasting the same, even if the recipe is the same. On paper, yeah, you're a woman, you're this age, you went to this school, or you got this background, whatever. But in trying to replace you, if that man can't experience the same magic he had with you, he gonna spin that block. You're going to see him spiraling. You're going to see him trying to open the door. It may come in the form of checking on you. He may wait for a birthday. He may wait for some type of event with y'all kids. He going to wait for some type of opening that's inconspicuous, right? Because that ego is still there and it's still fragile, at least for now. At some point, the ego going to be out the way. He's just going to straight up say, I just want another chance. I want my family back. But at first, he's going to try little inconspicuous ways. All while, here's the thing, here's the kicker. All while keeping shorty, the woman that couldn't replace you. Now, he done gassed her up to think that she's so much better. He done gassed her up to think that you the one that want him. Can I keep it real with y'all for a second? He done gassed her up into thinking you over there begging for another chance with him. You lurking on his page. Whole time she don't know. You just want to be done with this. You just want space from this guy. Leave me alone. That's all you want. But he's still entertaining her. Why? Because he's still coping. He's still void filling. Now, why am I saying all of this? Because if you don't recognize what's going on, you may let your guard down, especially if you're an empath, especially like whatever part he was able to leverage in order to overstay his welcome in your life to begin with, that part of you may still be there and awaken. A lot of people get it mixed up when it comes to healing that it's linear. Healing is not linear. It goes up, it goes down. That's why you can do all of this work and then at some point feel like, man, I ain't made no progress. Feel like you took 2 steps forward, 5 steps backwards. Healing is not linear. That's why it's important for you guys to stay tapped into a community, stay tapped into certain resources that keep you going. And then if you ever fall down, to get back up again. Healing goes up and down. You'll feel like I made it, I'm good. And then boom, come crashing down. So I need all of you who have ever had to separate yourself from somebody who had your worst interest at heart to stay on guard, to stay aware, to stay tapped into your intuition. And when such and such comes spinning the block, understand it ain't because he's truly remorseful. He's regretful of what he lost, but he thought he could replace it. That's the part. Matter of fact, hit the share button right now. If I'm saying anything that you know is facts that's resonating with you, share this right now. Don't be selfish. Somebody else on your timeline needs to hear this. We need, y'all want more people to hear this truth? Hit the share button right now. When that man cannot replace you, when he fails at replacing you, he failed at smear campaigning you, he failed at convincing people you were such the problem to a point where it actually translated into more happiness for him, because even if he succeeds in convincing some people, more than likely those people were folks that you ain't care about no way. You, like good riddance. You sitting there hearing one side of the story and jump to believe it, F you. So it doesn't translate into your life going downhill. It just translates into wasted energy on his end. At some point, he's going to spin the block while keeping old girl. Now, there are times where a guy will actually be remorseful. He's actually growing and actually evolving. That still doesn't make him exempt from his consequences of his actions. And if he's truly an evolved man, he's going to understand that. Every evolved man understands, like, man, cause and effect. I created this situation. I got to pay it. It sucks, but it is what it is. But as long as that man is still trying to attack you, as long as that man is still playing on somebody else's top, playing in some other girl's face while trying to get back with you, he ain't changed at all. And your decision to end that relationship was a good one. Use that as confirmation. Because nothing hurt. Like, you can be completely done with a man and still get confirmation that you made the right decision. Use that, because that confirmation is only going to make you stronger. Now, I'm not one of them that says stay tapped into what he's doing, keep an eye on what he's doing so you can look for confirmation. It'll just come to you without you even trying to go for it. But accept it for what it is. If that man has a whole other woman while he's still tapping on your door, still looking for opportunity, still looking to have more conversation, still looking to prove something to you, that he's turned a new leaf or whatever, he's had a change of heart after breaking yours, that is confirmation that you made the right decision. Confirmation number one, he got a whole nother woman. Confirmation number two, he tried to hurt you. Confirmation number three, he ain't taking no tangible steps to becoming a better man. He just been doing everything he can to feel better. Either get you back, make other people hate you, shine on you, flex on you, stun on you, convince the other girl you were the demon. He was the angel. That's all confirmation that whenever you left that man because you was fighting by yourself in a relationship, or he tried to charge you more than what you could afford to pay in order to wait for him to get his act together, that you made the right decision. Because I'm going to tell you what's on the other side of not making that hard decision. For those who are just joining in, I see some of y'all have actually shared it. Thank you to those of you who shared the wealth. I started off discussing the number one way you know that relationship is over, or that it needs to be over. Because even if you still have relationship title on it, doesn't mean that it's still a relationship. And the number one way that you know that relationship is over is if you are fighting for that relationship by yourself. You are making the sacrifices. You are trying to have the hard conversations. You're the one that's invested. You're the one that's accountable. If any of those apply, you are fighting for that relationship by yourself. It's no more need for you to be patient. It's no need for you to be more forgiving. It's no need for you to be more reasonable. No. You're fighting for that relationship by yourself, and you're going to lose yourself the longer that you fight. And then the second way that you know that relationship is over is if the price is too high. And I told them, like I'm going to tell y'all again, like for me, if I have to let my children see me get treated a certain way, the price is too high. I got one chance to do their childhood in the way that I can model the type of man that my daughters will eventually say, I need those characteristics in my man. I got one chance to do this. I got one chance to be when my little boy looks at me and says, I want to emulate some of those characteristics. If I can do that, I'll be a better version of myself. I got one chance. If it's going to cost me that to be what, I can't do it. For any reason, I can't do it. If it's going to cost me mental health, and I can't do it. I can't. I won't do it. And that's for me to decide. And the same thing goes, fellas, for women. We always think that the ball is in our court because women are typically the ones who want love and romance more than we do, or at least they appreciate it more. But we will misconstrue that into thinking we can set the price for that woman on what she should be willing to pay in order for us to come along and do what we were supposed to be doing to come into the relationship. And then we feel like somebody did us wrong, like we're some type of victim, because they decide they can no longer do whatever it is that we asking them to do in terms of waiting. 1 second, baby. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I'll check on them. One thing my kids want to do is snitch on each other. I don't know if y'all got kids in that 5 to 7 or 8-year-old range. Boy, the one thing they're going to do is snitch on each other. But that's fine, because just like they daddy, I'm snitching on those and think they can play in the good one face. Think they can play in the real one face. So fellas, let me just keep it real with you. You don't get to set the price. We like to determine like, oh, you know, she a woman, she'll take me back. That's one of the dumbest things I think we've ever adopted as men. If a woman really loves you, man, she'll take anything. All right. She'll take her stuff out that room and leave. She'll pack her stuff and go. If a woman really loves, no, if a woman really loves herself, she's not going to put up with it. That's not loyalty. That's stupidity. That's stupidity. And the stupidity may be another form of unawareness. But when you're dealing with a woman who actually has some value, that woman that's that once in a lifetime woman, that woman is not putting up with just anything. She already done did that before, and she ain't doing it again. That woman that'll put up with just anything will also fall for anything from anybody else that dangles the same nonsense that you use in order to attract her. That woman who won't put up with just anything was believing in you, giving you an opportunity, kind of letting you operate on credit to be something bigger than what you've ever been before. And if you was able to step up to that, she would have amplified you to a whole nother level that you never even knew you could be, like ever. And so whenever you left that woman, or when you lost that woman, that's what you gambled, and that's why you failed in replacing her. I know I'm kind of going on the side quest, but I just, whatever the truth is that come out my mouth, I just want to give it to somebody who watch it. If something I said has resonated with you and you needed to hear it, put I down in the chat. If I'm talking to you at any point in time, man or woman, put I down in the chat. I know I'm connecting with somebody. I gotta be, because I feel it. I feel it. You don't get to determine how many sleepless nights. You don't get to determine how many relationships you ruin outside that woman. You don't get to determine how many times you mess up that woman's appetite. You don't get to determine that. And then you don't get to play victim like she was the one that did something wrong by finally having enough. The real dummy, the real wrongdoer was you for even buying into the notion that she would just have this endless, limitless tolerance for your nonsense, brother. And I'm only saying this to you because I know we can be better. I'm on no pedestal. I've got my shit together, but boy, has it been painful. And I know what it was like, and you ain't got to go through that pain. I'm here as your big brother. Like, you ain't got to go through that. For those who are willing to listen, good luck, because this ain't for everybody. I get it. And the same thing, I'm not just talking to my brothers when I talk that hard stuff. Ladies, my sisters, those of you that think, oh, well, you know, everybody, that's what the sister said to me yesterday. Everybody deserves a second chance. I said, sis, you on a ninth chance. You on a ninth chance. I understand enough. You on a ninth chance. You're not on number 2 no more. You're not on number 2. How many times do you think this man has to mistake your value for you to realize that he's never going to be able to add up to what it really is? He's just bad at math. He doesn't know what you're really worth. Heck, how many times does he fail this test before you accept that he never should have been in this class to begin with? He did not have the prerequisites. Because this is what she's lining up to be, and I don't know what she's going to do with this information. I talked to her, y'all, like, you know, just, hey, straight up, right then and there. I gave her everything I had right there in that moment. Again, I never tell nobody how they live their life. I just give you the truth, and what you do with it is on you. She's lining up to be that man's internship. Honestly, she's already been that, if I'm being all the way real. She's lining up to be the one that man uses to get him through the space in his life where he's just wanting to play games. He found him somebody that keeps his bed warm at night, keeps his meals coming, keeps his drained in between times he's out with such and suches. He's found that person that keeps him comfortable in his mediocrity, in his disloyalty. And when he's finally ready to be a man of integrity, if he ever gets there, he'll go on to another woman. That's, again, what I call the internship. I talked about this yesterday. His clean 2819 says that hits deep. Yeah. That there's a such thing, and I hate that this is the case. But again, I'm just here to give you the truth. There are men out here who will literally use you as a stepping stone to another woman. Now, we like to believe that man ain't never going to change. There are men out here who will honestly get their act together, show up well in the next relationship. And it's not because of natural evolution of a man. He knows I got about 5-10 more years to play these games, to do whatever, and then I'm going to do. It's just like drug dealers and stuff. You know, they're going to do the drug thing, and then they're going to go legit, but they ain't ready yet. You never want to be the woman for a man who ain't ready yet. And in order to not be the woman for that man who ain't ready yet, but when he get ready, he going to go to somebody else, you got to make sure you use the strategies to avoid being a man's internship. That's a whole nother conversation. That's why I did the free webinar, how to stop being a man's internship so you could finally receive your blessing. Some of y'all missed it last time. If you missed it before, I only do these webinars twice a year. I put up the encore, limited time. It's at the link right here in the comments. Also in the caption whenever you back out. Make sure y'all don't go dead on me. Which is, if you missed that webinar last time, don't miss it this time. The link is down in the comments. Also in the caption whenever you back out. Do not be a man's stepping stone to the next woman. Be the woman that a man knows he must come prepared for. But again, I'm just your big bro trying to look out. If you got some value from this, again, hit the share button for somebody else to get value. And do not miss the encore of this webinar because it's coming down soon. How to stop being a man's internship. Holla at your lady. Y'all be good. Peace.